The replays of that with the crowd surrounding him as he makes that shot, that second shot on 18 hitting the green, and the crowd around him, and then the putt with Nantz saying, "Step aside, Father Time," that will be replayed 25 years from now. It's not Phil Mickelson unless he makes it interesting down the stretch. Like you see the final 3 holes and you're thinking, there's no way this lead collapses on Phil Mickelson. And sure enough, by 17 on the tee, I'm thinking about Chad getting a little nervous.
But I mean, he is an absolute rock star walking the back 9 of that course, despite the terrible KPMG logo, the worst corporate logo in the history of mankind. Looks like it's designed in the 1970s, hasn't been updated, 0 effort put into it. He's got the shades on that are not your conventional sporting shades. He's got the tan, he's slimmed down, and everybody's on board.
He looks like Hugh Grant.
Yeah, he looks like Hugh
Angie,
Grant.
my wife, pointed that out and said he looks
thing.
like Hugh Grant when she watched him walking the course.
Look at him. This is him early in his career versus now on the right.
And he was a sloppy guy, and he got with the times. I think it's impressive in that, I mean, he's the oldest guy to win a major, and 50 doesn't seem that old anymore because 50's, the new 40, all of these catchphrases. But at the same time, the charge in golf now is all these young guys, right?
Yep.
So on the one hand, it's very impressive that a 50-year-old could win a major. On the other hand, 50 is not nearly as old as it used to be in terms of being...
it's pretty old in golf.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been 456 majors dating back to 1860.
And what was
He's
Nicklaus?
the oldest of all time.
Nicklaus was 46 in 1986.
And he seemed awfully old.
Well, they had a guy who was 48 and a guy who was 47. I saw in that graphic they showed, but it was all like
old time.
Civil War photos looking guys playing.
Here's one thing that I had that
it's the first time he's been better than tied for 71st, which was the PGA Championship in 2016 at a major.
I loved that coming up 18, and I love this at majors when they allow them to do it, the fans coming up behind them, but they did a terrible job of maintaining a safe distance.
I'm glad
if
they
you're
did.
A little bit claustrophobic, and it was worse for Koepka. I mean, Koepka had to fight his way through the crowd.
We will never, like the replays of that with the crowd surrounding him as he makes that shot, that second shot on 18 hitting the green, and the crowd around him, and then the putt with Nantz saying, "Step aside, Father Time," that will be replayed 25 years from now, and we will remember that moment. I'm glad that the crowd was as close to him as they were.
I can't remember his quote. He said it was a little bit distressing.
It reminded me of Hank Aaron's home run with the guy who tried to give him the congratulations and gave him a big.
Yeah.
And Phil kind of shuddered, kind of gave him the stiff arm aside. In security, the cop got the guy out of there quickly.
Well, you could see him trying to control his breathing.
Yes.
On that second shot at 18, because everyone was right there with him. Like he's trying to calm his nerves, his energy,
emotion.
His emotion, because he knows if he hits it on the green, he has a 3-putt for a win. And look, I thought his composure in that setting is amazing because he's walking up to the 17 tee. Walking up to the 18 tee, giving thumbs up to the crowd that are shouting at him, and meanwhile you've got Koepka who's just laser focused. Phil's laser focused, but it's more lenient with the fans that are telling him like, show us some thumbs. That's his.
They mentioned this too, but Phil he self-professed his biggest problem in tournaments has been lack of focus.
Yeah.
That he just comes in and out of focus. He'll have a good 7 or 8 holes, and then he'll completely crater for a number of holes. And that was a big, once he got in contention on Thursday and then into Friday, I know Jim Nantz said this, that talking to people on tour, he was not the same chatty Cathy Phil Mickelson on the driving range and on the putting greens before. He wasn't talking to anyone. He was laser focused. You saw a different intensity with him throughout Saturday. And I watched every hole Saturday and Sunday. But there was a difference with Phil Mickelson. He clearly had not shut that mind off in that post-interview. That was very... I think Reed said before, clinical was a good word to describe it. Clinical, canned, not the same funny, jokester Phil Mickelson that you'd normally see in that setting or any emotion at all. I think he was still in laser-focused killer mode at that point when he was being interviewed. And probably today or tomorrow it'll sink in what he's accomplished, and he'll be different in interviews moving forward. but you could really see a difference with him. And I think it made it all the better that it wasn't some scrub who was trying to win their first major. Brooks Koepka's won 4 majors, and he's in that group with him. And he is as big of an alpha as there is on tour.
He's a shark. Yeah.
And if you notice, Koepka was pissed at that crowd that he got stuck in.
Well, he couldn't get
coming out of there. And I noticed when he tapped out, usually you give an acknowledgement to the crowd or tip of the cap. He didn't do anything.
Well, I think he was
He
upset.
knew they were all for Phil Mickelson, which he understands, but he didn't like the crowd.
I think he was upset because in that crowd, he was bumped around a little bit, and his knees are already an issue.
Yeah.
And that played a factor in why he was upset with all of that.
I think it's got to be better controlled. I do think, I take your point. And from
It made
behind,
for the moment.
from behind, I was very claustrophobic for everybody involved. From in front, they showed a picture, and I said to Teresa, this looks like a guy leading an army.
Yeah.
He looked
like
like a
Moses.
general, or Moses, yeah.
Well, it's just one of those sports moments that will relive over replay forever.
Yeah.
I mean, that march up 18 where he throws the hands in the air in typical Phil fashion with the logo, and does it as the oldest major champion in golf.